this is my 9th year up here on stage, and I was thinking about it, the time's flown quickly in those 9 years, some ways. Other ways, it's been quite a long time. I looked up, you know, the iPad had not even been released on my first SEC media day. So now everybody, I think, in the world, in the United States, there's more iPads than people. They hadn't been created when the first time I came up here. So it's been a long time. I've gone out to my son's baseball games and caddying yesterday for him in a golf tournament. He was 6 months old, so the time's flown a little bit for me, but it's been a fun ride. You know, I'm blessed to be the head coach at Mississippi State and to be there and have the opportunity to go into year 9. I think we've been able to do a lot with the program over those 9 years. We're looking this year, hopefully, to make it to our 8th consecutive bowl game, which would be a great feat. You know, one of the things when I came here was to build a program that wins on a consistent basis, and I think we've been able to build and do that, and I'm really proud of that. Proud of our players, what they've been able to do for us. Coming off the year last year and making a bowl game in a very unique way to me. We made a bowl game last year because of academics, not because of our wins on the field. And we found a lot of different ways to make bowl games throughout the year, whether it's winning, you know, the final 2 games of the season. One of the years we were #1 team in the country for half the season and made a bowl game. Last year, to win the final game of the season, regular season, and then find out because of APR to be able to stand in front of your team, and because of the academic success that those players and the players that came before them have had, allowed us the opportunity to continue our bowl streak and keep playing. So I'm very, very proud to be able to stand in front of the team and tell them that, of how we built the program that way. Last year, you know, coming into this season for us, we have some guys coming back. You know, one of the things that there is always comfort when you have a quarterback that's played coming back. We had Nick Fitzgerald started last season for us, coming back, had a pretty solid year last year. I led the SEC in total offense, and I had a great year running the football. You know, in quarterback development, everything is about constantly improving how you throw the football, and so hopefully he's having a great summer. You know, we can't be with him. There's a huge amount of development that goes on in the summertime at the quarterback position. When you're not around, what they're doing on their own is going to determine a lot of your success. But we need him to continue to improve, continue to grow, and continue to develop. And if you get to look next to him, you get comfortable when you have a guy, a running back, a returning starter, and Harris Williams coming back, who started several games at the end of the year last year in the backfield. So that's a comforting thing. Up front, on the offensive line, one thing, you know, we only have 30 combined starts on all of our offensive line coming back. We have 4 different offensive linemen that have started at least 1 game in their career. So even though there's a young group with maybe not a lot of experience, guys have been in the moment. Guys have started, guys have played, and that's important to us. We have all our tight ends are back this year. You know, the position on offense we're going to be young at is the wide receiver position. Donald Gray's here with us today. It's great to have him here as a graduate, a senior, been a great leader for us. I know as you get to go see him, got a lot of personality. Going to try to compete with me in the shoe game today to see who has the best shoes, and we'll let y'all vote on that maybe at the end of the day. But you know, that position overall is going to be young. Defensively, a whole new start for us on defense this year. A lot of players. We got you know, I don't think we don't have 1 senior on the defensive line, so that'll be a young group at the linebacker position. Going to be led, you know, with some young players. Leo Lewis played a bunch last year, coming back. Des Harris, who's here with us today, another senior from Birmingham, who's a great story, and it's great having him here today. Suffered multiple knee injuries during the course of his career, never let any of that adversity affect him, continued to work and fight through it and develop, and here he is as a senior having the opportunity to have a huge year. And then in the back end, you know, we have some new faces, a couple junior college players coming back, but the biggest one that junior college players that we added to some guys coming back with Jamal Peters and Mark McLaurin and Brandon Bryant back there. But the big one for us there is to have a Talando Cleveland come back from having missed last year to a knee injury, coming back for his 5th year, senior year for us. That was, he was probably our top DB last year, and now to have him come back off an injury and be able to play for us this year is huge. And defensively, a different personality with Todd Grantham on the defensive side of the ball, running our defense, and it was great to get somebody of his level to come to Mississippi State and run our defense. So the final player I think we have here with us today, Martinez Rankin, a great offensive lineman, has worked his tail off in the program, has the flexibility. One of the great things he got to do is play center all during spring ball, even though he started at left tackle last season. And as the season gets on, we do expect him to move back out to left tackle with Elton Jenkins moving back into center after Elton missed this spring due to injury. But we expect to have a really good year. I like the attitude that our team has had this offseason, that they've brought to the table this summer, their work ethic, their demeanor of this football team. I'm excited about it. Even though they're a young group, we only have 12 seniors on the roster this year, and a very young football team. But I'm excited about what the season's going to hold. Excited about year number 9 and finding a way to still be here. And excited to continue to build this program to be a program that competes, or hopefully has the opportunity to compete for championships on a regular basis in the Southeastern Conference.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Joseph, Bridget, or Chase will come to you, and please stand and give your name and affiliation. Coach, we'll start right here in the center. In front of us.
Hey, Coach, Tom Palmer with the Kansas City Star. I was just curious, Texas A&M and Missouri joined the league 5 years ago now. What do you think about what they've added to the league, and do you feel like they've assimilated to the culture fairly well during that 5 years?
I think so. Certainly, I guess we deal with Texas A&M a lot more than Missouri. We played Missouri one time, but we played at Missouri. In my recollection of it, it was a Thursday night game. And we probably could have used an arc to get in and out of the game that night. It was it rained so much. So the most deafening thing was the rain pounding on your helmets and the hat that night. But when I've seen them, it looks like a great atmosphere. And as obviously they've played, they've won the East several times. So I think they've adjusted to the league. But Texas A&M, obviously you see them. You go to the stadium. Fits in the passion the fans have, how they play, how Kevin's built that program, and how competitive they are in the West, which is a competitive league. I mean, you have 7 teams that expect every game you play, you go in expecting to win all 7 teams that are on that side of the league. So I think they've adjusted really well and in the league and bring a lot. I know they both bring a lot to the league with their style of play, the excitement, and obviously their fan bases.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left, third row.
John Adams, Knoxville News Sentinel. Dan, you've won more games at Mississippi State than anybody in an 8-year period. Is that as good as it gets, do you think? Or do you think you can do even more, and what would it take to do more?
I don't know as good as it gets. To me, my life has no finish line. I tell our players that there's no finish line. So we're always striving to get better in everything that we do, every single day, trying to improve and reach our potential to be the best that we can be. There's obviously a lot more ahead of us. We have not won the West yet. We have not won an SEC championship. We've not won a national championship yet. So there's an awful lot ahead on the table of goals that we want to achieve as a program. And but I am proud through all the work of our players. One of the things I take a lot of pride in looking at our guys throughout the year that come back and work with us, come back and they're around the program. I know they take a lot of pride in what they've been able to build, and the expectations around the program have certainly changed, and the expectations not just from the fan base and the media, but really the expectations of the players, which is the most important. The players within the program and the players that are former players that played for me, of what their standards and expectations are that they want to see. They've helped build the foundation, and they want the guys that are there now to continue to build and continue to grow on that and continue to take us to a higher level.
We'll go in the center section in the aisle to our left.
Coach Mullen, Drew DeArmond, ESPN 97.7 Zone Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. You've done a great job throughout your career at developing and evaluating quarterbacks, first with Alex Smith, then Tim Tebow, Dak Prescott, and now Nick Fitzgerald. What do you look for when you're recruiting a quarterback, and what did you see in Nick Fitzgerald that you thought was special?
Well, you know, there's a lot of different things that we go and look for within the quarterbacks. Is you know, the biggest thing, you got to watch them on film. You got to be able to sit down and talk to them. All of them, you try to get to camp if you can. So you know, within a camp where you actually get to coach them and work with them one-on-one. The biggest one to me is you take things that you can coach, and you take things that are harder to coach. And you really want to look for guys that have the traits that are hard to coach. You know, they have some of the skill set and the things, whether it's the leadership, the mental, physical toughness, intelligence and processing information, and decision making. Those are some things that are sometimes harder to coach. You can coach someone to throw. Now, there's all different levels of that, but you want to look at the things that are harder to coach. And if they have certain part of those skill sets, and then they have the potential for the things that are coachable, for you to really grow and develop with them and help teach them, they're going to have a huge upside as players. And a lot of those guys, those are the things that we look for, because the names that you've mentioned, all different shapes and sizes, all different maybe skill sets. All of them have tremendous mental and physical toughness. All of them are great leaders in their own way. All of them are great competitors in their own way. You know, and I don't get honed in on it. There's only one way to do it. What you want to look for, they have those traits of being a winner. And I know that might sound coach cliche, but you know, one of the things Dak Prescott says when NFL teams call us about Dak Prescott is he won. He took high school to levels they hadn't been to. He took Mississippi State to be the #1 team in the country. And people are surprised that the Dallas Cowboys to the playoffs. He's a winner. And if you want to look at a quarterback, a big trait is, does he win? And, you know, all of those guys that you talked about all had tremendous success at every level that they've played in football.
Coach, we'll go over here to the right alongside
Chase Goodred with NFL.com. Coach, I'm going to keep you in Dak mode for just another couple minutes. Have you put him in touch with Nick just to give Nick an extra resource, an extra mentor? And secondly, what do you expect from Dak Prescott in year 2 as a pro? And then why do you think so many NFL teams miss on him in the draft?
Well, why they miss on the draft, I have no idea. Because, you know, each team, I think when you get to the NFL, everybody's looking for something different. You might not be looking for a quarterback or someone of his style. So, you know, that's a very unique where you might slot a quarterback in this year's draft or what you're looking to get out of that quarterback position. So it's hard to say teams missed on him because you don't know what their strategy going into that draft was. But for the first part, he does. I don't know. They talk. I don't know on a constant, regular basis, but I know that he remains there as support for Nick, and he remains there for everybody in the program. I think, you know, one of the great things about Dak Prescott that I saw, and a great moment for him that explains what his beliefs on Mississippi State and how he sees our program, was in the women's Final Four last year. You know, where you see a lot of former players, maybe they're up in the box, sitting in a VIP protected lounge. Here's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas at the women's Final Four, and he's jumping up and down with a towel in the middle of the fan section going crazy. And so that shows his passion for the university, and not just with it, Nick, but with all our players, how Dak, as well as a lot of our other former players, always want to get back and be there to help guide the guys that are currently on the team, on and off the field in their futures.
Coach, we'll go back over to our left, fourth row.
Dan Mullen Buchanan with TexAgs.com. I'm curious, did you anticipate the kind of impact that Nick Fitzgerald was going to make last year during this time? Or were you even somewhat taken surprised by what he was able to accomplish?
No, I knew the skills that Nick had. I thought, I mean, people before, we thought, since the day he's got on campus, he was our most athletic quarterback. You know, and so we knew he'd have the athleticism. We knew he was a great runner. He ran a lot of a wishbone in high school. So when you get into making decisions in the run game, that was going to be very, very natural for him. And I knew he had a really strong arm. So it was going to be how he adapted to playing every day, his decision-making within the pass game. And I think from game one to the final game of the season, you saw a great deal of improvement with him doing those things and understanding the system. So I wasn't surprised, even though I know coming out of high school, he wasn't a very highly rated player, didn't have all the accolades that a lot of other recruited players had. But I knew he had the skill set, and I got to see it every day at practice that not everybody else got to see. So, you know, I really wasn't shocked with some of the success he had last year.
Coach, we'll go to the center aisle right here on the right.
Luke Johnson, Baton Rouge Advocate. Coach, y'all are opening up your SEC slate with LSU this year. Had a couple really tight games with them in the past. Is that a rivalry that's kind of budding for you guys? Do they enjoy that type of environment against that team?
Well, it is. You know, I mean, it seems it seems to come down to the last play of the game, the last several years, right down to the wire. You know, I think when that happens, I think coming into it, the guys almost expect it to be that way. You know, they expect it to be a tight four-quarter battle, and when you're going to play a team with all the talent that LSU has, you got to be ready to go play for 4 quarters. To continue to make plays all the way through the final whistle, or we might have to find a way to make a play, you know, make the play on the final play of the game to go win. And the mental toughness and focus you have to have throughout the course of that game, when you're playing the team, the talent that they have, every single down, they have a guy that can make a difference, and you've got to be focused on everything you're doing. And over the last couple of years, it seems that it's been that type of game right down to the final whistle, and you know, we've come up on the short end the last 2 years, but you know, I think our guys have the confidence that we can go make the final play this year and being at home and get that home field advantage to try to find a way to win.
Coach, we'll go back over here to our left in the front row.
Coach Andrew Lopez, NOLA.com, Times Picayune. Nick didn't have the best games against LSU, Kentucky, Alabama, but each time, the next time he bounced back. What is it about him that kind of allows him to flush bad games and step up the next time?
Well, you know, we spend a lot of time with the quarterbacks on, you know, it's all about the next play. You know, I mean, hey, you come out and you light it up 8 games, he could light it up the first 8 games of the season next year and be the talk of the country and be leading the Heisman Trophy voting. And if you get tired of that attention, just go throw a couple picks and everybody will stop talking about you. But it also works the other way, is if you don't like how they're talking poorly about you, yeah, let's not worry about what happened in the past. Let's worry about going and throwing and scoring some touchdowns on the next play, on the next drive, in the next game. And you got to have a short memory, and a short memory in the emotional side of it. You know, I can't get too upset about having a bad game. I can't get too excited about having a great game. But I have to have a long memory of what happened and not make the same mistakes that I've made, whether good or bad. I got to learn from every single play as I continue to move forward. You know, and Nick, that's part of quarterback development, and he's bought into doing it.
Coach, we'll stay in the same section, about 3 rows back.
Will Savage from the Clarion Ledger. Dan, you mentioned that you wanted to see Nick Fitzgerald progress more as a passer, improve his completion percentage, but you also mentioned how young the wide receivers are. So what's your level of concern with him being able to do that with that young group?
Well, I think part of it for him is those guys working together, having trust in what they're doing. And I do think, you know, a guy like a Donald Gray that's been in the program, that's a great worker of setting that bar high of the expectations of the receivers. Having some experience at tight end and running back help. And one of the great ways, if you want to improve your completion percentage as a quarterback, which Nick has to do for us, is to make non-spectacular plays. You know, don't be afraid to take a check down. Don't be afraid if they're sinking. Hey, I'm just going to take an underneath throw over and over and over to get you up before I take a shot down the field. But young quarterbacks struggle with that. You know, they want to hit the long ball. And especially, you know, a guy that has a strong arm like Nick, you know, that's going to, I want to take shots down the field. A lot of times in high school, they think that's the big play. I want to go make a play happen. Those non-spectacular plays help. And I think for him, with the experience, is managing the offense that way. Take what the defense gives you. Don't be afraid to check it down or throw it down underneath. Will open up some throws downfield, which will help him not just increase his completion percentage, but also help out those young receivers where he's not forcing the ball down, hoping that they go make plays, in shots down the field, that he's taking educated shots down the field to those guys where they're in a better position to make the plays and help them gain confidence.
The coach will go to the opposite side here on the third row.
Hi Dan, Andrew Asford, SEC Country. What is the greatest area of growth that Nick Fitzgerald can show this year? And also, Brett Bielema as a new father, what advice would you give him for that role?
I'll tell you, the one thing I think he's going to learn, I'll start with Brett, is learning how to make sure you balance your life and balance your life out. And I think it's going to change him an awful lot. The greatest thing you have is, win or lose on a Saturday. You're going to come home to a family that loves you. You're going to come home to a family that's very disappointed, maybe if you lost, or really excited that you won, and a family that takes on maybe a lot of the pressures that we deal with as head coaches. But to make sure that you don't make it about you, it's about them, it's about being a family and loving on your family and their growth. I take great pride in going out. This time yesterday, I was a caddy in a golf tournament in Georgia, walking around for my son over at our lake house. So you take pride in all of those moments and love being a caddy more than being a head coach in the Southeastern Conference. The Nick part, for him, it is the constant development of being a quarterback. Guys, if you look at skill sets, Nick's got size. I'm not going to make him any taller. He's got a great physique build at about 230 pounds to be a quarterback in this league. He's a great runner, and he's got a strong arm, so he has the skill set to do it. But it's the development of a quarterback. I bet if you look this summer, Tom Brady's working on his pocket, his throwing motion, how do I become more accurate? How do I become a better passer? That is a skill, and that's something that anything that's a skill you can constantly work on. So the biggest strides we need to see in Nick is his consistency in throwing the football, balance, the accuracy, the decision making, when he's getting the ball, how he's throwing it, what type of throw is he. Is he taking a little bit off it on this drag route? Is he leading receivers? The accuracy, the balance, to maybe make an off-balance throw, and not just when I'm setting the pocket and make the throw. How quick can I get the ball out of my hands on a bubble screen? When it's there. How can I stay in the pocket a half a second longer, slide to create a throwing lane that's going to make it easier to throw for me? Those are skills that are developed over a very long period of time. And the more that you develop on them, the more successful you're going to be as a quarterback.
We have time for a couple more. We'll start over here on the left.
John Adams, Tennessee Network. Dan, is the start of Dak, does that open more quarterback recruiting doors for you?
It certainly hasn't hurt. For us, we're going to find out down the road and how it goes for us. I think one of the things over the last several years, whether it was being number one in the country for several years, look at a lot of the success. Our guys, we had 3 guys in the Pro Bowl last year for us, and the success guys are having at the NFL level, or a guy as Dak, where you have a former player, is really almost on a one-name basis in the sports world, which is pretty special. I think not just a quarterback, it opens up a lot of doors with recognition of the program. I don't know that we'll reap the benefits of it, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot more people around the country that know an awful lot about Mississippi State than maybe did 3 to 4 years ago.
Okay, we'll stay over here on the left, along the side of the wall.
Gary Smith from Florida Times Union. When you were at Florida, you had 2 quarterbacks, essentially, Chris and Tim. And at Mississippi State, you've had an awful lot of stability there. You've been fortunate enough to have Dak and Chris around for 2, 3, maybe longer. How tough is it to have that kind of stability where you don't have a lot of turnover, you're not shuttling the kid in and out every other year? Does the transfer situation make it tougher? Or is the type of quarterback that can be a Dak Prescott that hard to find?
Well, I think one, the quarterback position is tough with some of the transfer situations. We've had some guys transfer and leave out of the program.